peeps, Dee here. Welcome to my studio, welcome to my channel, and welcome to this little tutorial. What are these? These are rings. Yeah, you guys, if you've watched many of my classes, know that this is one of the ways I make rings. It's just to take a very thick piece of Buna cord or rubber cord, and that becomes the band. And it's quite nice because you don't have to have real specific sizing on this. This will fit pretty much every finger because, you know, stretches. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. I think it's time to get started. Okay, so the first thing I just mixed, I cut half off and I mixed that together so you see what happens when you have red and orange and some white. Ta-da! Now, I prefer a more berry color like that. Actually, I love this, but I also love this berry color. So let's turn this a little more berry by taking the magenta and adding it into this clay. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. It's getting cold. Look, I'm wearing a hoodie. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like. Here, I'll cut some off. Mix this in. Okay, so I mixed it in. That's what this looks like. This was the original color, so you can see the difference. But this is still very red. So what I'm gonna do is cut another piece off to keep it as an example. That was my toaster oven. And I'm gonna mix this piece in. Then I'll be back. Okay, peeps, here's the new color. I like it better. Here it is. You can definitely see the orange in here. You can definitely see more of the orange in here. So this is a color we're gonna settle on. That goes back in the scrap. Okay, so there's one color. Now, as I said, this is not my package, any color I have. And it's okay, but I find it just a little bit brighter than I like. Yeah, well, let's look at these together because they are gonna go together. The violet will also go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this, I'm gonna stick it in here, and let's bring this color down a bit. Now, I'm always a little cautious when I'm adding a reddish color in because it's quite powerful. So it's worth taking this a little more slowly. Yeah, it is. That might be too much, we'll see. This is the color, I like it better, it's not quite so bright. Now, if you look at this piece, you can see that color, it's very close. I think this color had more green and more red, okay? Maybe a little less yellow here. Okay, so there's color number 2. Now this is straight violet, and I think straight violet is fine. Now, see this square? That's actually not violet to white. That's violet to lavender. And I prefer that for this work or for this particular piece. Maybe it won't always be that way, but generally speaking, I prefer a violet Skinner blended to a lavender. So I'm gonna take some of this and mix it in with some of this. Not too much, maybe an eighth of the package is really all I need. Okay, so I will be back. I'm not gonna open this package. I have so much white just sitting here. I have white. Okay, okie dokie. So maybe I'll just take a quarter. This is a quarter of that package. 2 ribs. So I'm going to mix these two together, then I'll be back. Okay, peeps, here are these two. Now, this, I'm actually going to Skinner blend this to another green, or I could do to white, but I really would prefer Skinner blending to another green. So I'm going to take this. This is packaged green out of my clay box. Okay. Now this green, the Kato green, is kind of a blue green. It's not my favorite. Okay, so I'm going to take and mix. As you can see, I'm not mixing a lot of clay, so you don't really have to. I'm just trying to make one ring. Okay, let's just take this much. Let me look. How much does this leave me? Okay, I'm going to give that a go. Let's see what happens. I'll be paid. This is what I mixed. Now, I think I would like this to be deeper, more along these lines, so I'm going to once again take a little bit of this red. Pop it in there. Mix this in. Because this red will bring the color down just as it did here. All right, so here's the color with the addition of the extra red. So these two will be blended together. Now let's look at this one. See how much bluer this is in there? Yeah. So who knows, that might have been, you know, from my teal color. So the teal, when I mix a teal, it's actually turquoise and green together. Okay, and that would account for the extra blue in there. Okay, but this is what I want. Those are going to be blended together too. Now here is that berry color. It's not quite as berry as this, of course. I would need to add more magenta. Now instead of doing berry and orange, see, this is not tone on tone. That's a berry color and that is a pale orange or a pastel orange. What I'm going to do is I am going to really do tone on tone, which is to say I will take this and I will mix it in with white. Once again, probably about that much. Okay. I'll be back. All right, so we're ready to start. Now I'm going to Skinner blend these, but you know, this square, that was actually a cane. This is not enough clay to make a cane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull our little trick. I'm taking a little translucent and I'm going to bulk out the volume here in this green. Now I'm not worried about making this a translucent color necessarily. So I'm going to mix this in. Hopefully this will be close to the same volume. These are the same volume. This is not going to make any difference because this is color replacement. This is going to be a cane and this is going to be a cane. You know how I know I made a cane? That black outline. See how fine it is? Really, the only way for me to get that fine outline like that is to make a cane. Yeah, it is. I'm not saying it's impossible to do it when you do color replacement. You can, but it's kind of tough to make a line that's quite that fine that way. All right, so let me mix this up and then we're actually going to start. Okay, peeps, I need a little more color. I'm going to do the same translucent trick with this. Yeah. I am. I just need a little more. Need a little more for this cane. I'll be back. Okay, peeps, so I added the translucent. Now, let's talk about number one. This color is a lot weaker than this color to begin with. You can see that. In the battle of colors, this one is weak. Yeah, it is. And there isn't any white in here. You would think there's white, but there isn't. And white is like a strengthener, right? If there were white, or if there was white in this color, it would stand up to this color much better. but there's no white. And I just made it weaker by adding translucent. So I'm going to try to equalize the whole thing out by adding translucent to this, so that when I blend the two together, this color doesn't just run over that one. Okay, does that make sense? The translucent makes the color weaker. It doesn't really change the color, it just makes it weaker. So let's get this done. All right, peeps. So, as you can see, you might need to have some translucent sitting around just to beef up the color, but it's because I started with such small quantities. Now, let us make a Skinner blend using the two greens in just the same fashion. Now, I'm going to go all the way through and do it because when you're dealing with a small quantity of clay, the instructions might be a little different, or there is a point at which you may have to do something different. Yeah, this is like little eeny-weeny teeny bits of clay. All right, so far everything is the same. But you know, every time you fold and roll through the pasta machine, what happens? It gets wider, right? It gets wider. And it's only this big. Okay, so let me place this edge on the rollers and roll through. I'm on the thickest setting of the pasta machine. Now, I'm going to continue. I'm going to fold the same color edge on the same color edge, place the fold on the rollers, and roll through. Okay, so let me just keep doing this. And I'll be back. I'm gonna have to do this about another time. Okay, so as you can see, it starts to get, because the volume of clay is so small, it gets more and more difficult to have anything to fold. Right now this is okay, but if you get into a situation like that, just reset your machine, excuse me, a couple settings, and roll it through. Give yourself more clay to fold. All right, now you can also do things like put a block of clay on the rollers, just something to inhibit that sideways spread. I don't do that, but you certainly could do something like that that will keep and prevent the clay from spreading out this way. Okay. All right, so I think that this is pretty good. So now I'm going to form a plug. You guys know a plug? This is a plug. And I'm going to make the plug about the same height as this. Maybe even a little narrower. Reverse reduction. Just take the ends and roll this way, pushing the clay to the middle every now and then, doink, doink, and then continue, just pushing it down. You can even grab it in your hands like this. If your clay is very hard, or one clay is harder than another, and you're not getting the kind of thickening in the middle that you want, then just twist like that and force it. Okay. This is moving quite nicely. I don't have any problems with it. Okay, we're almost there. Gotta do more. Roll at this point. Do a lot of this, just taking it in my hands like that. And just squash it down. Squash, 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 squash. like so. Okay, let's cut this open and see what we have inside. And that actually looks very good to me. That looks good. All right, so what I'm going to do is put them back together. Like so. And I'm going to form this into a block. Now, I cut it in half just to show you what it looks like inside. And if you've done something like what I've done, like this, of course, you're not going to just, cut it open like that. I don't think you want to do that. Okay. Flatten again. All right. And it's still a little bit taller. That's okay. All right. I'm not sure I did it this way last time. This time I'm doing it this way. Okay, so now I am going to take my blade and I'm going to cut the block. Okay, because I'd like it to be nice and even. Will it be perfect? Probably not. I'll do my best. Let's put these back together that way. Like so. So I get this nice square. I made it square, probably doesn't have to be square. Okay, let's cut the ends. And now I will wrap this with a thin sheet of black. Okay, ta-da. All right, I'm gonna take my black, gonna roll it very, very thin, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've rolled this through setting number 7. Just gonna cut a strip like that. And let's just place the block on. Actually, I was going to wrap the wrong way. I have to wrap this way, don't I? Yep, I do. So just be careful that you don't wrap the wrong way, as I almost did. And I did. That would have been a fine kettle of fish. Not what I would want. Okay. Just like Okay. All right. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the violet. I'm going to make a big block, and then we're going to insert this into the big block. Okay, peeps, so here is my violet to lavender. And you know, I have to make this a square as well, but this square has to sit inside of that. So this seems a little small. Now, what I can do is make this larger, but that also makes it thinner, okay? Or I can take this, I can reduce it until it fits better in that box. And I think I'm gonna do that rather than, now see, I haven't trimmed this one yet. I really have to trim the sides. So this is gonna end up being shorter anyway, but I don't really want it to be flat. Okay, so let's say I settle on that. Now I have to reduce this guy. Not a problem. I mean, it's a very small cane, so to begin with. So let's just reduce this. Okay. All right. I could possibly just do this by doing that. Then again, I do want sharp corners, so I'm taking my acrylic rod and rolling like that. See how sharp the corners are? Okay, I want it to be square. Make sure that the face is square. And that is much better. So I just reduced the size of it a bit. You can see, right? Okay. Let me do just a bit more, make it just a tad smaller. Okay. Okay, peeps, so let me just square this off and do my trimming. I want to make sure that this side and this side are also nice and flat. I'm gonna put the light up, the dark down, like so. All right, so let me just try to do some trimming. Okay, I'm not trying to do some trimming, I am trimming. Just a bit. I'm gonna try to cut straight is what I'm gonna try to do. Not always the easiest. Okay, what do you look like on this side? I need to cut just a bit off of this corner. I really like to cane. I'm not really known as a caner. I mean, there are people who are amazing caners. Just incredible. And, you know, I'm not really one of those people. I think I do an okay job, but I'm not the most precise caner in the world. All right, so how do we insert this square into that square? Well, I'm just going to mark off where this smaller square is actually going to sit, and that's where it sits. All right, that means I have to cut, insert, and put the pieces back together. Now, take your time on this. Try to cut straight down. I have a tendency to actually not cut straight down. I think I cut kind of angled back that way. Okay, let's get a second cut. I'm gonna try very hard. Now I'm going to just pull this out. And let's just insert this much of it in, like so. Now let me cut this piece straight down. Come on, Donna, you can do it. Do not angle. Try not to angle. Put it back in, like so. Then we have one final piece. Like so. All right. So let me see. Now see, this is not sitting way at the bottom, and I really want it to, because see, just this, even that much, well, you're going to waste some cane. And I have plenty of this green one. So if anything, I should be pushing this all the way down here. See, so that the square cane, this square cane sticks out from both sides. Now, this guy matched up to here. Actually, I think I will take this guy, put it back together like so. Really trying to get these corner pieces in tight. Okay, see, so you can see I cut kind of crooked here. Yeah, I cut kind of crooked there too. I am not a machine. Okay, so let's just push everything together a bit. Now, I am going to trim the green squares just a little bit. I don't have to, you know, slice it right down to the violet. As a matter of fact, I don't want to do that. I can stick out a bit. Okay. So let's see what I've got here. If I have to do any more trimming. Just trying to get everything together again, because I've got to wrap this around here the same way I did with the green one. And I have block that I could insert into another color. Yeah, I could. Okay, now I think that that looks pretty good. Pretty good. Just going to do a little bit more of a trim here along the side. Just a bit more. Doesn't have to be tons. What I'd really like is to have sharp corners, like these 4 corners. Okay, let me take this guy before I do my wrapping. Okay, there we go. Now let's do the wrap again. This needs to be longer, so I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm going to place this edge on the rollers and roll it through setting 7 again. Okay, setting 7. Now, you're long enough. Okay, here we go. Okay. And here is our cane. Now I am going to cut just a little bit of this black away. No. Yeah, maybe I'll just leave it. Now I really want to see much better what's going on. And you know, you get this, it's like extra clay. Ta-ta. All right, so now this dude has to be reduced, because see how much bigger it is than this one? A lot. I would say a lot. Okay, so let's reduce it. Let's just start by pushing like so. And I think that having that green square larger or sticking out of both sides is going to help. It's not going to hang back so much. I can still squish like that. Okay. And the clay is quite soft. It is. I have no complaints about it. It's fine. So let's make sure the corners are nice. Okay. Good deal. All right, flip it over. Okay, one more time. Okay, am I getting close? Close. Okay, there's nothing that says I have to make it exactly the same size. I can make it bigger if I wanted. I can make it bigger if I got lazy. Why not? Everything doesn't have to be humongous, and I did not anticipate matching anything today. But then I thought, well, why not try? very close, very, very, very. Look at it. Actually, to my eye, it looks close, but when I look on my little camera, it doesn't look all that close. This looks like it's quite a bit bigger. So I'm just going to keep working on it just like this. I don't think you want to see me do the whole thing because it's boring. I'm just taking my time on this because I really do want it to be square. I really want a square and a square, not sort of a square and sort of another square. Yeah. Okay, I'll be back. All right, peeps, so this is my waist. I cut away at both ends. This side is not as good. See, it's like the square is not centered in the square. See that? Awful lot of that violet there. I think this one actually looks better to me in terms of the centering of the green square. So we'll use this side. Like that. We're going to let that rest for a moment. Put our scrap in our scrap. Scrap in scrap. Okay, now let me set up for color replacement. It's color replacement theory, and it's coming up right now. All right, so it's time for color replacement. I'm going to use this round cutter, and I'm just going to do dots. Done this plenty before, haven't we? I think we have. Oops. Okay, so I'll just do two. You don't have to watch me do all of them. You probably don't want to. Okay, so I cut two out of this one. Now I'm going to cut two out of this one. Not exactly sure which one I'm going to use. Probably use the one on the right. Okay. And what happens now is that I'm going to take the cutouts from this sheet, put it on, insert it into this sheet. Now, if you look closely, you can see that each of these cuts has a sharp side. See, that's the sharp side. See, I want you to look at the place where the clay was cut. Now look at this side. See how round that is? Here's the sharp. Here's the round. So I want the sharp side up, so that the sharp side is actually meeting the round side. Round side in the sheet, sharp side in the cutout. Now here, I'm going to turn them over to the sharp side, put it in like so. And when I do this, I like making two sheets, because why not? Why not? If you don't want to make two, you don't have to. Now, these two sheets of clay have been rolled through setting number 4. So let me continue. I'm just going to do polka dots, like this kind of polka dot, right? Where the second row is kind of offset, kind of fits into the previous row like this. Of course, you could cut dots that are more in a grid pattern, like this, where the dots actually line up more like what you would find on dice, like that's a 4. Okay, so that kind of thing is really up to you how you want to pattern your dots. Okay, so let me finish. I'm only going to do probably about this much because the piece is not going to be that huge. All right, I'll be back. Let me move this over here. Okay, peeps, so now it's time to burnish and make all those dots join with the sheet that they're inserted in. Okay, Now, you guys know probably, sometimes I feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over, but this paper is critically important. It is, you can think of this paper as a dam. Yeah, a dam. Well, it's inhibiting the movement of the clay, both the background sheet and the discs. And because it inhibits the movement, you get much more clear, undistorted pattern. So my dots are not, these round dots are not going to turn oval or some other odd shape. And that's just all the paper. Now, if you look, see that light area there? Well, that means there's air. And when you put the sharp edge down, you're actually minimizing that, the presence of that air between the background and the dot. So you see that? All you have to do is take your finger and burnish harder on that one spot and eliminate the lightness between the background and the cutout, the inserted cutout. Now I see a whole bunch of them there. So I'm gonna do this and then get my finger in there and just really direct a lot of my energy right there at that white area. Okay, just get rid of them. And you can see how hard I can push, but the paper is not going to allow this clay to spread out and thin. If I didn't have the paper, this clay would just start getting thinner and spread out. Now this is just deli, what I would call deli paper. It's what is used to wrap sandwiches. You can also use parchment. The stuff that I really like, the cabinet wax, Costco doesn't have anymore. So this was something I bought from Costco, and it is called, oh no, I didn't buy this from Costco. I bought it online. Markle deli paper. Okay, now I flipped it over. I'm going to do the back side as well. I keep feeling something. Oh, it's clay. Every time that clay hits that paper, it kind of stops. Okay, here we go. You can see. Now, to remove the clay from the paper, you've got to do one thing. You have to peel the paper away from the clay. You never grab the clay and pull it off the paper. Okay, so just take it and pull it off like so. Then you're going to flip it over and you do the same peely thing. Just slowly pull it off. It was much easier on the other side because the paper was actually holding it down. This side, I have to give it a little help. Okay, so here we go. We've got our two. All right. So how big should this be? Well, depends on how big a ring you want. You want a humongous ring? This is the size I used. Or do you want something smaller? If you wanted something smaller, I would recommend using a smaller circle cutter and making a finer pattern, because if you take something like this, it's like, well, that's kind of interesting, but you know, where'd the pattern go? Okay, so let me just cut this out like so. And I'm going to use my dim sum thingy that I bought at the local Asian market. Now, I haven't been in this market in a while, but I think, I don't know, last time I went, which was a while ago, they didn't have them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to to one of these numbers. I'm texturing. You guys know I like to texture. I like to texture because then I don't have to sand. But I also like texture. It just so happens I don't have to sand. Ta-ta. All right. Should I do this one too? What the heck? If I don't do this, you know what's going to happen? It's going to end up on my scrap pile. And then it won't be good for anything. So I might as well do it now, even though I do not anticipate using it now. Okay. I'm setting that aside. I'm setting this aside. Now we are going to deal with this dude. So what are we going to do with this dude? I don't know. I'm cutting right now, and I'll be right back. Peeps. So now I'm just going to cut this, and I'm going to push it into that same dim sum container. For a moment, I thought I would back it now. Yeah, you know what? If I back it now, then I don't have to back it later. But that doesn't really make sense to me because it's going to have to be cured again anyway. So I'm going to wait to back this because the way these are situated, this slice is sitting on a pad of clay. So you know that the absolutely best bond is raw clay to raw clay. So I will put raw clay on the back of this piece after it's cured. And in that way, when I press it down to that pad, it'll have a much more secure, connection made. And it'll be less likely that this flies off or pops off, or I think you get the picture. I mean, both work. It's just a question right now of which I feel is more secure. And I feel it's more secure to cure this separately and then put the back on later. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's cut. Let us cut this. All right. Is it perfect? No. Does it have to be? You know, in a perfect world, it'd be perfect. This studio is not a perfect world. Okie dokie. Now, let's texture. In the original piece, I have a little crystal. I could put a little crystal, you know, a little sparkle never hurt anyone. See that little dude? Okay, let me move these over so I don't ruin them. Fish out my crystals. Where are you? Oh, I found it. I found it. I have so much stuff in my studio. I have to like apologize in advance to my family for, you know, I mean, none of us is here forever. And somebody's going to be cleaning up my studio and, oh, there you are. So let's put a little crystal in. Just going to take this little guy, let's put it dead center. All right. Then I'm going to take my crystal picking pencil, put that guy in there, flip it around, push it down in. Now, I'm going to push it far enough in so that the clay kind of captures the crystal, like so. I'm happy. I'm happy. Okay, these are going in the oven. I'll be back. All right, my peeps. So my pieces are cured. This is what I cured here. Now I'm going to show you. I did take the cutout here, and I actually made another cane. Now, I wasn't able to use this green square, what was on the outside, because it was just not enough clay. So I made another one. So now I can make another cane using this. Well, you get the picture. I could go on and on and on. Anyway, I got I have two canes, square and a square. Always useful. Okay, so now I've got to put these together. This, and I think I'll use this one. Let me say one thing. I think that this is more successful than this. I should have made an orange dot. See, that's orange. Orange and berry. Now, another thing I might have done that I didn't do here, I should have added white to the berry color, this color, and then it would probably have looked more like this. As it is, you can see that the contrast between this color and that orange is not as great as the contrast between this and the other tone. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's fine. It's just that I happen to prefer this one. All right, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to sand this edge. See how sharp that is? I'm just going to sand it. The way I do that is I take my Operanet P180, and it's just easier for me to wrap it around a sponge like this than hold it in my hands. My hands get kind of cramped up. Okay, and the way I'm going to sand it is just by taking the sandpaper. See, this is the back. This kind of thing. Soften the edge. Like that. Okay, so that's mostly what I'm doing. I don't find that I need much going around this edge. Maybe just once around quickly, like this. Believe me, this should take you about 2 seconds. Okay, 5 seconds, maybe. But it's not going to take you long. I would say I'm done. Okay. Alrighty. Like that. Now I'm going to put clay on the back of this, and I'm going to bring it up along the edge. I'm going to make this clay very thin, so I'm going to roll this through setting number 5. Ta-ta! Okay, and I am going to texture it, so I'm going to take my, I'm not going to try to clean a sponge. I think this sponge just gets thrown away. This is dual plex. It was originally this nice green color. There is so much black clay in this sponge. It's not worth cleaning. I have plenty of this. All right, so now I've got my clay rolled through setting number 5. Put it on my sponge. I'm going to roll them both through setting number 5. Texture. Now, clay sticks to clay, right? So I have this buildup of clay in the dual plex sponge. So what I'm going to do is just release it by stretching, like so, and that just makes it a little bit easier, like that. Okay, liquid clay, liquid clay on the back. I would show you my liquid clay, but it's really a mess. I showed you my liquid clay. I've been thinking for months, I should really empty that out and put some fresh liquid in there. And then I always like, well, you know, when you're doing something like this, seriously, it doesn't have to be fresh and clean and pristine liquid clay. Eventually I'll change it. Okay, so let me take a cutter that's the same size. I'm going to take a slightly larger cutter and cut a shape out like that. Why? Because it makes everything easier. It just makes it easier. I'm not going to be fighting a lot of extra clay. So just slide it around until it's centered and then start pulling the clay from the bottom up around the edge like so. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to take my craft knife. Let's just get that in there, and I'm going to cut the excess away. Now I hold my blade kind of pointing up. See, the tip is not pointing down, it's kind of pointing up. Scoot it around like so. If you get any clay in the disc, then just wipe it off. Double check and make sure that there are no gaps between that black clay and the disc. That happens. It's not something you want to happen, so ta-da. Okay, now I'm going to take this, see I still have it, and I'm going to put it on the back of this. Once again, oops, grab a brush. That wasn't a brush. Now this time I'm not wrapping the edge because I've already got this black edge going for me. The cane had a black wrap, so I don't need to do that. I just need to cover the square. Dunk-a-dunk, dunk-a-dunk, doink. Get off, you. All right. I have to scoot forward. Sometimes I still do the, I'm doing it down here routine. I just get caught in my own world. I don't know, there's no other explanation. I get caught in the world of polymer clay. And even though I'm talking and explaining, I kind of forget about the camera. I don't know why. I don't know why. All right, I'm going to take some of this and I'm just going to roll a little ball. Okay. Oopsie. Oh, oopsie doopsie, oopsie. Now, is that a good size? Basically, I just need a clay pad here. So, I'm just going to take and put this on here. Be nice if this was very soft. And I think it's soft enough. I probably could soften it more. The reason why I'd like it kind of soft is because I'm going to be pushing this onto it, this onto this, and while I'm putting the whole thing, the raw clay is against this sponge, I don't necessarily want to, really flatten it. So I'm going to take some more clay softener, and I'm going to make this like goopy soft. It's not going to hurt the clay. It doesn't make it less strong. It's just that it'll be really soft. Now, if I didn't want to do it this way, of course, you guys know I could mix that 2-part epoxy clay and use that as adhesive if I wanted to. But I have to put this back in the oven anyway. So I might as well use polymer. I'm still trying to incorporate that in here. Okay, peeps, this is nice and just really soft. Softy, softy, softy. Gonna make my life easier. Ball. Brush. Oh, brush. Brush. Let's put a little blob right there. Let's put the ball, the very soft ball, and just squish it down. Squish it down. Squish, squish, squish. Now, that's fine. I mean, it doesn't, actually, it's a little bit tall. I mean, could make it tall, like almost like a fountain. But see how low this one is? I think I prefer it lower. So I'm just going to remove this and maybe cut it in half. Put it back into position. Now, you don't want to make this ball too small because when you go to attach your ring band, your rubber ring band, you have to have something to drill into. Okay, so that's what this is. This pad of clay is what you're going to drill into. Okay, let's just put this there, kind of center it and push. So now the back of this is raw. The ball is raw, so that's a nice joint. Okay, so I can push it harder, harder, harder. Okay, so it's just a little bit taller, but you know what? I think that's fine. It'll sit like this. All right, this is stuck back on here. And now I'm gonna bake it. I'll be back. Actually, I want to do one last thing. I want to put my signature cane on. Okay. Here's a bit of signature cane. Let's do that. I'm just going to cut a slice, lift this up. Now, I want to do something else because I see an air bubble. Like that. Okay, so this little guy, I'm just going to put this right at the edge. I'm not paying too much attention to where it is. I just want it on the edge out here. I made ring once, and I put my signature cane on, and I put it too close to where my finger was, and you know what? That sucker, I could feel it. I could always feel it. So I don't really want to feel it. So that's why I put it out toward the edge. Okay, in it goes. It's going in the oven. I'll be back. Okay, peeps. I liked making these. I continued making more. Cute, huh? I think these have potential. I really like them. I'm just gonna have to make a lot more colors. I like the little squares and squares, okay? Now, so I tell you how to make the cane, but it occurred to me that perhaps I should teach you or show you just kind of a simpler way. Maybe some of you don't want to make the cane, and this will work too. It looks a little bit different, but not too much. Okay, so what I have here is actually a center like that. Okay, and I've got to make one using this center, and I wrapped it with a thin sheet of black. So now I'm just going to take a piece off of this block, and I'm going to roll it through, fold and roll a few times. Ta-ta. So I'll just keep folding and rolling. And what I want to do is I want to make it wider, 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 wider. Getting there. Getting there, see? You know, I'm going to fold it back this way. Sometimes when you're blending, you cutting off of a little block like that, you get something that looks like this. See that really dark area? Well, I'm going to turn it this way. Put that dark stuff inside. Now, is that big enough? Maybe just one more. Make it just a tad wider. Okay, that's good. Now, I am going to texture it with this stuff. My dual plex, roll it through the same setting. Now, this clay is rolled through setting number 4. The individual setting is probably not that important because this piece will be backed. All right, so let's just take a thin slice. That goes in the garbage. I almost said garbage. That doesn't go in the garbage. Good grief. And then just put it where you want. If you want to texture it, you can take a moment and do that now. Texture the top. Then just cut around. And you cure this, and then you back it. And when you back it, you will do what we did to this guy. Remember when we just took the clay and we pushed it up over the side? Yeah, well, that's what you'll do. So here is another way, perhaps a much simpler way, to get roughly the same effect. It's not a cane, but it does sort of look like the same thing, doesn't it? Okay, so this will be removed, and then I will press it to the same dim sum serving platter. Okay, I think you understand that. It's pretty simple. All right, so the last thing we have to do to our piece, I think Louis, I think I hear him moaning. All right, so this is the one I made. Now you can see of the two, maybe I already talked about this, I preferred this coloration, this berry and orange, to this one, but hey, I'm still going to make this one a ring. Okay, so how do I want this to sit? Like this, like this? Do I just want to let it fly and see whatever happens, happens? You know, I think that pretty much anything you do is going to be fine. So let's just let fly. Okay, I'm going to take my needle. Let's look at the back. So the distance between the two glued in ends is, let me measure. Oh, I would say 1/2 inch. Okay. So if this, let me try to find roughly the center. You know, I'm not that great at finding the center of things I'm discovering. I wonder if it's my vision. Could be. Okay, so that's the center, and once again, we want this 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to place the 1/4 inch mark on that little hole I made. Let's just put that one here. This one here. So it's all kind of approximate. I wouldn't say that this is like really critical that you have it in exactly the right spot, but okay. I'm I'm going to open that a bit. And you can see that I'm sort of angling the tip of the needle in, because I don't want to drill straight up and down. I want to drill a slight angle so that when I glue it in, the cord doesn't just go straight up like that, but it kind of goes out and around and back in. Okay, hello. Here you are. So let me take this. I would say it's probably 45-degree angle. Just going to give it a little bit of a start there. A little bit of a start on this side. Like so. Mostly I just want to sink it in there so when I go to actually drill with the larger drills, it doesn't slip out, just like a pilot hole. Okay, now I'm gonna drill in. And as I'm drilling, you know, of course I don't want to go so far that I drill through the uppermost cane. So okay, that's pretty good. Now let's attack it from the other side. I have this little problem with this. I love this pin vise, but it does sometimes unscrew, like the end unscrews. Okay, now my cord is 3 millimeters. Here it is, and I believe this is the right one. So I have so many of these, and they're different sizes. Yeah, they are. Okay. Flip it around, drill into the other side. Okay. Let me get rid of these chipsies. Let's see if that's the one. Are you, or do I have to go searching for one that's just a wee bit larger? I think I can just make it slightly larger. That way. Yep, there we go. No, that's not in terribly deep. It's just that much. Is that going to be enough? Let's test it out on this side. Once again, not too deep, and I really am kind of afraid of going through this cane. So I'm being perhaps a little extra cautious about it. Anyway, I would advise that you take your time when you do this. Okay. My ring keeps banging on this. Okay, so there's that much, and this is about the same. So this much, and let's just say my finger is like that. Make it a little bit larger. We can run a little test. Put it in, put this in, and that's pretty big. That's pretty big. Yeah, I can make that smaller. And the cord is slightly stretchy, so I'm not too worried about. Oops, oopsie. Okay, so I think that would be fine. So let's glue that in. Well, let me just check. See, this one's quite a bit smaller. And it doesn't, I mean, I can get it on. You see that I'm just kind of pushing it and stretching it a bit, and it's not going to go anywhere. So I think I'm going to cut just a tad more off. You can see I just cut bits. Okay, that looks good. All right, so let's give it a go. Now I'm covered with clay bits. Clay bits. Yep, me and my clay bits. Okay, now push it all the way in. Sometimes if you don't push it fast enough, it glues to the side before it hits the bottom. Hi, Lou. You want to go play in the snow, honey? Okay, just a minute. Just a minute. Oops. All right. So I'm just going to let this sit for a little while, and then I'll be back. I'm going to go let Louie play in the snow. Okay, peeps, here's the ring. I'm wearing it. You know, I like this. I like them all. Like that. Now, in the center of this one, see that little eeny-weeny tiny gold square? I really like that. So I made a pair of earrings with posts, just with 2 slices, and see in the center, there's a little gold square. Here it is. Look at this. It's foil that I put on black clay and whipped it, and then ripped it off, and then cut strips, just cut squares, little squares. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make more of these because I kind of like them. I do. Well, I have to make more canes. Yeah, I have to make a few more canes. I could make earrings, though. That'd be cool. Okie dokie. Yeah, I got quite a collection of stuff here. Okay, peeps, we are at the very end. Look, I tried to arrange the pieces just right so you could see them. Yeah. It's kind of hard. This is the one we made. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the class, and also thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. And if you liked it, please like. And if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. So that's it for me today. Making a little ring. I like them a lot. I'm going to wear this one myself today. Okay. So now I am pushing off. Until we meet again, I'm Donna Kato. Bye.